Hey guys, it's Sarah, and today's video is going to be a Shop My Stash. It has been a long time since I've done a Shop My Stash. I think the last one I did was in August, so we are long overdue for another one. If you're new, the way that I do my Shop My Stash videos, it's not for like a monthly makeup basket or anything like that. We just kind of shop my stash for a full face of products, and then in the same video I'll do a full face of those products. And the theme of this Shop My Stash is going to be full face of nothing new. So everything that I pick is going to be something that is not new to my collection, and hopefully it'll be things that I maybe haven't used in a while, just to kind of make it a true Shop My Stash. So first for primer, I have three, and I think I'm going to pick the NYX High Glass Primer, because this is the one that I haven't used in the longest out of those three. And for foundation, I want to use my Pacifica Alight Clean Foundation. I really like this one. It's one of my favorites, and I feel like I haven't used this one in a while either. For concealer, the one I like pairing with the Pacifica one is the e.l.f. 16-Hour Camo Concealer. Both of these are pretty full coverage, and I just feel like they make a good team. And then for setting spray, let's see, the oldest setting spray I have is actually not that old. It's only a few months old, but it's the e.l.f. Dewy setting spray. I really like this one. This is my powder and cheek drawer. These are my powders, and then I do have a powder in my project pan, but I kind of want to intentionally take a little bit of a break from my project pan items in this video just because they get a lot of attention all month long. So for powder, why don't we stick with the Pacifica theme and use my, what is this called? Crystal Rays Luminous Translucent Setting Powder. I really enjoyed this one. I feel like I've been using a lot of cream cheek products lately, so I kind of want to stick with powder today. Let's see, I have three bronzers. None of these are all that new to my collection. I think I'm going to go with the Milani Silky Matte Bronzer in Sunkissed. I really haven't used any of my bronzers in a while. This time of year, I really like pulling out my CoverGirl Cheekers Blush in Natural Twinkle. Very kind of cool mauve berry kind of color. Beautiful for the fall and winter, and I haven't used this one in a little while. And then for highlighter, let's see, which one should I pick that'll go with these two? I'm kind of between these two pinky toned ones, the ColourPop Monster and the e.l.f. Shimmer Highlighting Powder in Rose Glow. Let's do the ColourPop one. I haven't used this one in, I think, even longer than the e.l.f. one, even though it is one of my favorite highlighters. I've just been so focused on my Project Pan highlighter. So I think that's going to be all for this drawer. Then we have my eye drawer. This is some single eyeshadows, some eyeliners. Let's see, I kind of want to pull out one of my ColourPop Super Shock shadows. You know what? I have not used Liberty in so long, and I really need to use this. This is a super metallic silver shade. Yeah, we're gonna pull that one out, and then I have a palette in mind as well. Let's also grab my Jordana 12-Hour Made to Last eyeliner pencil, and I think that's gonna be it for this drawer. Let's go ahead and choose a palette. I think the one I want to use is the theBalm Nude Dude. I mentioned in my palette collection video that just went up on Tuesday that I haven't used this in a while. Sometimes I kind of forget that I have it, so I definitely want to pull this one out, and I'm thinking it'll be fun to do kind of a cool toned neutral look with this silver and some of these neutral matte shades in here. For the lip drawer, I usually like to pick a couple of options. This Ofra liquid lipstick in Laguna Beach I haven't worn in a while. This might work well. Also haven't used this e.l.f. lip plumping gloss in Pink Cosmo in a while. This is a really pretty like milky pink. This one, e.l.f. Tea Rose. This is one of their matte lip crayons. This one does not get enough love, and I really like this color. It's like a cool, almost purpley nude. So those will be my three lip options, and we'll figure out something out of those three. And then we have my top drawer here, which this is mainly Project Pan things, my 1 month 1 palette, and then some other everyday items. So I definitely want to grab my mascara. The Urban Decay Lash Freak has been my go-to lately. My brow pomade and e.l.f. Wow Brow Gel that I use every day. Like I said, I want to skip a lot of my Project Pan items just because I use them all the time, and I want to give some love to the rest of my collection. My eyelid primer. Alright, so that is everything. Let's go ahead and take a trip over to my filming area and create a full face out of these products. Alright, so starting with this primer, the NYX High Glass Primer. Definitely really like this one. It's kind of interesting. It's meant to give you kind of like a glass skin look, and it is luminous, but it's not like quite as luminous as I expected it to be, or at least that's what I remember thinking. But it does feel hydrating too. So with this combo, I actually really like applying the concealer before I apply the foundation, just because this concealer is a little bit too light for me. Also, I used an Ofra palette that came in PR yesterday, and it kind of stained my eyelids like this pinkish color. It's mostly faded now, but last night after I removed my makeup, my eyelids were pink. It's the Ofra Symphony palette, and I really like the colors so far, but I don't understand why it stained my eyelids. See how that is pretty light for my skin tone. I have the shade Light Peach in this concealer. It almost looks white. I am so excited. Later today I have my Foster orientation. It was supposed to be last week, but they ended up canceling it and rescheduling for this week. So I've been anxiously awaiting this day, and I'm just so excited to get started. I'm gonna be fostering cats soon. I'm not sure how soon, but I guess I'll be finding out more today. Next, for this foundation, what I found with this foundation is that just one pump, that may even be too much, but just a very small amount, like a pea-sized amount, is plenty. So I'll usually do like one thin layer, and then I'll take whatever is left on the back of my hand to just add some more coverage to the areas of my face that I want a little more coverage, like where I have some discoloration here on my cheeks. But when you do use kind of just a small amount of this foundation, it has such a beautiful finish. It's very dewy. Because it is fuller coverage, it can look a little bit heavy if you don't prep your skin. Even though it is super dewy, I like prepping my skin with a dewy primer underneath as well, just to kind of make my skin nice and hydrated and ready for that kind of fuller coverage look. And then I can always reduce some of that dewiness with powder if I want to. All right, so now for this Pacifica Crystal Rays setting powder. I've thought about doing a full face of Pacifica on my channel. I know I've gotten it requested before. Would you be interested in that? It's definitely a brand that I'm curious about, and I feel like they're a little hit or miss. Obviously, I'd have to wait till the new year when my no-buy is over because I'm not buying any makeup, and I would have to order some new things in order to get a full face, but let me know if you'd like to see that. So I feel like it's a brand that doesn't really get talked about a whole lot on YouTube, and generally those are the brands that I'm curious about because, I don't know, I just want to know, do they have like some really hidden gems? I think that this e.l.f. Complexion Brush might be ready to be retired. The ferrule came off, and I know I can glue it back down. I guess I'll try that, but it's still like really lopsided when I stick it back in. And I have had this brush for a very long time. I've thought about investing in some more expensive brushes because, you know, they'll last longer, and I kind of just want to know if more expensive brushes are worth it. I feel like they are. Like, most makeup artists will tell you, like, you know, you need to invest in really good brushes, and I don't know, lately I've been kind of getting to the point where, like, I've always loved drugstore, and I still do. Obviously, most of the stuff in this video is drugstore. In certain areas, not just with makeup, but just in life, I'm willing to spend a little bit more money to get something higher quality, especially when it comes to brushes. Also, just like kitchen appliances. I'd rather buy something that is going to last years and years rather than an e.l.f. brush that performs really, really well, but that after 3 years or so is going to do this. And also, I feel like e.l.f. brushes like this, they kind of, as you wash them over and over and over again, the bristles get a little bit rougher than they were when I first got it. So I don't know, I feel like as I'm getting older, I'm starting to get a little bit more willing to not be such a cheapskate, I guess. I'm always gonna love drugstore makeup though. I mean, there's just something so exciting about finding really good, inexpensive makeup products, and there's some really nice drugstore brands like Milani. Their packaging is still really luxe and pretty. And anyway, if you have any slightly nicer brush brand recommendations, I know I've heard great things about Sigma. I know, like, Bdellium tools, I always want to say Bdellium because it starts with a B. Those look really nice, and I've heard good things about those. I think they're vegan. I definitely want to stick to non-animal hair brushes. There's also Decay Beauty that's supposed to be really good. So yeah, anyway, let me know if you like have converted to more expensive brushes. What are your favorite brands? What should I check out? But I will say my Ecotools brushes, these are more of a drugstore brand. These hold up the best out of any drugstore brand brush that I've tried. Real Techniques is also nice, but some of theirs have kind of started to get weird on me over time. But I've had this Ecotools brush for, I don't even know, probably over 5 years. Same, I've had some of their eye brushes for like a decade, and I'm still using them, so. Oh, I love this blush. This is the CoverGirl Natural Twinkle blush. It's a good like cold weather color. It's hardly cold here. I think it's still in the 80s, but we're pretending. All right, now for this ColourPop Super Shock in Monster. I have hit pan on this, but I do feel like these Super Shock products are very easy to hit pan on. I think I probably hit pan on this after like 10 uses, maybe. Not a lot of uses. Okay, maybe more like 15 uses. I'm not really sure. But since the product moves around in the pan so much, you just hit pan quickly. But it doesn't necessarily mean I've used a ton of it, you know? Because I've heard that these highlighters do take forever to use up. That's a fun color though. It's kind of like a duochrome. I mean, it is a duochrome, not kind of. And it's just fun and different, but it doesn't look too jarring, you know? This eyelid primer from Ulta, I'm trying to use this up by the end of the year. I mean, this is something that I just use up naturally. I don't ever put these in my project pan because I use them every day, and I use a kind of a fixed amount every day. But I just really want to finish this. Ready to move on. I also have the Urban Decay Primer Potion that I actually got in PR along with the Stone Vibes palette, and so that's the one I'll be cracking into next. Well, I've already opened it, but I'm just ready to be done with this one. Like, it's fine, but I've had it for like 2.5 years now, and it's just, I'm tired of it, you know? Like, it works fine. It's not the best eyelid primer in the world, but it does the job. But I cannot believe how long it takes to use these things up. Which should be a good thing, you know, because it means you're getting your money's worth. But I have my November 1 month 1 palette video coming up soon, so I'll be recapping my month of using the Billie Beauty Eyes of India palette. And then I will be introducing a new palette that I'll be focusing on throughout September. And I'm really excited. I just posted on my YouTube community tab a poll, because this time I want to have you guys vote. I like to have you guys vote maybe like every other month, just so you can kind of have a say in what you get. So the options were Modern Renaissance, Urban Decay Naked Reloaded, which is actually very new to me, and I kind of wanted it to be an option because I'd like to get some more experience with it and be able to share my thoughts on it because I've barely used it so far. And then theBalm Nude Dude and e.l.f. Opposites Attract, so quite a variety there. So far, Modern Renaissance is in the lead. Naked Reloaded is close behind. By the time this video goes up, it might be completely different. But anyway, I have a feeling it looks like Nude Dude from theBalm is probably not gonna win, but maybe it'll swing in from behind. But anyway, I wanted to go ahead and use it in this Shop My Stash because it's been a while, and if it doesn't get picked for my 1 month 1 palette, at least we can use it this time. You know, I'll probably choose it for my 1 month 1 palette eventually. But it's funny because I kind of expected Modern Renaissance to get the most votes because I know the most people have that palette, so it's probably the most relevant to the largest number of people. But somebody commented saying, like, how are you guys not bored of Modern Renaissance yet? And I kind of feel that, like, I do want it to be in my 1 month 1 palette some month because for me, the purpose is to try, for my older palettes, try and hit pan on more shades and just get more use out of especially my older palettes. So eventually it will be in my 1 month 1 palette. But I do kind of agree because it's just been around for so long. I personally do feel a little bored by it, just a little. Okay, not so bored that I don't want it in my 1 month 1 palette. If I was that bored of it, I'd declutter it, but I still love the palette. But I kind of agree with that person, but we'll see. I know a lot of people are panning that palette this year or have already in previous years. So I think just it's relevant to the most people. And it is a very fall appropriate palette, so I would like it to be chosen in November. Or I think it could also be a good February palette because it sort of makes me think of Valentine's Day as well. with the reds and the pinks. So we'll see what happens. But if you haven't voted in that poll yet, go ahead and vote. I think I'm gonna film that video this weekend, so there's still time to vote if you want to do so. But I've really been having fun with my 1 month, 1 palette series. I guess the name 1 month, 1 palette is not super accurate because that would imply that I'm only using that one palette for the month, you know? But I still let myself use whatever I want. It's just, the goal is to just focus on that palette as much as I can. Get a certain number of uses out of each shade and try to hit pan on certain shades if possible. So, and I just like that I'm gonna start to see more progress on each of my individual palettes, and it also helps me get more well acquainted with my palette collection too. Even the palettes that I've had for a long time, I'm learning new things about them, I'm finding new ways to use them. I just feel like I'm getting to know them better. Sounds like they're people. They kind of are. They're like my children. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So if you've never done a 1 month, 1 palette series and you're feeling like bored with your palette collection, I recommend it because it's fun. And if you think you'll get bored with one palette for the month, what I've been having fun doing is like pairing that one palette with other palettes in my collection or with single shadows. There's a lot of possibilities, so it doesn't have to be limiting if you don't want it to be. All right, so getting into Nude, and then of course we're also gonna use Liberty from ColourPop. I want to start out the crease with this rosy mauve called Feisty, but I'm curious to know, going back to the Modern Renaissance thing, are you bored of Modern Renaissance? Are you tired of hearing about it? Are you tired of seeing it in people's project pans? And are you tired of it, or are you a Modern Renaissance fiend and you just can't get enough of it? I'm curious. I'm kind of in the middle. I love the palette, and I haven't used it in a while, so I do want to use it in my 1 month, 1 palette soon. And I've been kind of going back into a warm toned eyeshadow phase. I say that as we're doing a more cool toned look today, but I've been loving like oranges on my eyes. I didn't used to really like that, but with the Billie Beauty palette, it has some really rusty colors, and I've been loving those, especially with like a gold on my lid. It's so pretty. For the longest time, I was going through a cool tone phase, but I think I'm kind of entering back into the warm territory. I like both. I feel like I can toggle between the two. I'm going to go in with the shade Flirty here. Probably my favorite shade in the palette. It's a purple with gold shimmer. So what are you guys doing for Halloween? I don't think we're doing anything. We're having a couple friends over for a movie night on Friday, and it sucks because this is the 1 year that Halloween is on a Saturday, but we can't really go out and party. Maybe you live in a country or an area where that is safe. Where I live, I just don't feel safe doing that, so it sucks. I don't even think we're dressing up. Maybe. Who knows what'll happen. Maybe we'll dress up and just hang out at home. We can get out our Ouija board. We just got a Ouija board a couple weeks ago, which a lot of people think that's like creepy or something. I don't know. I think it's cool. I don't think there's anything to be afraid of with like spirits and stuff. Yeah, maybe we'll use that. All right, so this shade, oh my gosh, it's so sad because this is such a pretty color and I cannot even, well, let me rephrase that. The last time I remember using this is the beginning of 2019. Like I remember filming a Get Ready With Me in like February of 2019 in my first Seattle apartment. It was snowing. That's when I remember last using this. I may have used it at some point since then, but I don't remember using it since then. And that just makes me so sad because this is so pretty and it's a cream shadow. It needs to be used more often. I think the thing is, it's just so metallic that I'm a little afraid of it. Or at least I was. Oh, but that's so pretty though. Okay. We've just made the executive decision to use this a lot this winter because this is gorgeous and so wintry. It's making me think of like snow again. That's one of my favorite memories from living in Seattle is that huge snowstorm. I don't know, if you live in the Seattle area, you might remember February 2019, that crazy snowstorm. It doesn't snow often in Seattle, which is surprising because it's so far north. Most people think it's super cold there. It's not. But we got a crazy snowstorm there, and it was just so pretty. Like, I look back at those pictures that I took, and man, I miss Seattle, you guys. I really do. take me back. We've talked about moving there. I don't think it would be anytime super soon, but we know we don't want to stay in Georgia for very long. That got messy. We know we don't want to stay in Georgia long term, and I just really miss Seattle. Every time I think about it, I'm like, oh, I miss it. And I watch Taylor Wynn, who lives in Seattle, and every time I watch her videos, I miss that like cozy feeling of that city. It's such a great city. Oh, dang it, I messed up. Put too much over here. This side looks great, and then this side looks dumb. Maybe watching this video will make you want to vote for this palette. Speaking of voting, have you guys voted? Those of you in the US, have you done it yet? Yeah, we early voted last week. It was surprisingly easy. I know I'd seen people in my area saying like the line was super long, especially when early voting first started. And it was a pretty long line. I think we waited for about 45 minutes or so. Wasn't terrible. And everybody there was so friendly and so nice, and it felt very safe COVID-wise. Like everybody was wearing a mask, and they actually stopped to like sanitize the room at every hour. So right before we went in there, they had just sanitized everything. Obviously, if you really are like high risk, you probably have already done your like mail-in ballot, or hopefully you have if you don't want to vote in person, because I think today was the last day to do that. I'm not sure. Anyway, please vote. Just my obligatory PSA. I know you've been hearing it a lot, but that's because it's important. Especially in your local elections. Like I know the presidential election gets a lot of hype, rightfully so, but especially make sure that you like research your local candidates, because that's really where a lot of the biggest impact can happen for you. So take some time before you go to like look up all the candidates, read up on their platforms and everything, and make sure you're informed. Okay, that's out of the way. Yeah, I think I've been a little scared away from this just because it is so metallic, but you can definitely sheer it out. Okay, I'm gonna go into the shade Friendly, which is that deep plum. Oh, this is a really lovely palette. It's certainly not like the most incredible quality high-end palette. The shades are more on like the sheer to buildable side. They're just so beautiful. Like I always end up with just such a pretty soft look. All right, let's do some Fine on the lower lash line. Do some setting spray. Whew. It's always like a refreshing little jolt with that e.l.f. Dewy setting spray. I like it though. I'm gonna tight line actually with this Jordana liner. I feel like the camera is making my under eyes look super white compared to the rest of my face, but in person, they don't look that way, so you may just have to take my word for it, but I promise I don't look that crazy in real life. So I think I'm gonna go with the e.l.f. matte lip color in Tea Rose, just because I feel like that's gonna go best with this eye look. And honestly, this is the best matte lipstick option if you want something matte but you don't want to wear a liquid lipstick. It really does have great staying power without feeling like a liquid lipstick. These have been around for so long and I still love them. I don't know why I don't use this one more often. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I'd love to see you again very soon, and hopefully I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye!